Hello. I'm Andrew Cohen, and I have the pleasure of presenting the Irving Abella Award in History. And just a word about Irving Abella, if you don't know about him. Irving Abella was a colossus in Canadian Jewry for as long as he lived, which was 82 years. He died 2 years ago. He is best known as an historian. Early on, he was known for his works on labor history, but more recently in his career, or later in his career, he turned to Jewish Canada. He wrote a history of the Jewish people in Canada called A Coat of Many Colors, and his magnum opus, None is Too Many, a story of Canada's restrictive immigration policies between 1939 and 1945. Ichi, as his friends called him, lived and breathed things Jewish. It was his oxygen. I knew no one who could rhapsodize about chopped liver and challah the way Ichi could. And Rosie Abella, who wanted to be here tonight, his wife of 52 years, would say that at the end of the day, chopped liver and challah got the better of Ichi. But this award was established a year ago. We are very grateful, Edward has already mentioned them, to the friends of Ichi Abella for establishing the award that is the only named award of the many we are going to present today. This year, the Irving Abella Award in History goes to Michael Cater for the book After the Nazis, The Story of Culture in West Germany. After the Nazis is a sweeping cultural history from 1945 to 1990 of West Germany. It is original, erudite, and comprehensive, a study of the literature, theater, art, music, cinema, journalism, radio and television of West Germany, as it tried to extinguish the ghosts of Nazism, the Third Reich. At heart is the question, how do a people move beyond the murderous horrors of Nazism to modern liberal democracy? Michael Cater, who is the distinguished research professor emeritus at York University, has spent his entire career really examining 20th century Germany. He offers his answer in the novels of Günter Grass, the composer Hans Werner Hans, and Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, the filmmakers Wim Wenders and Rainer Werner Fassbinder, among others. This is an important, timely book. As today's far-right revisionists try to erase the past and minimize the Holocaust, Professor Cater ably shows us the power of the arts in post-war Germany to discredit and dismantle the stubborn falsehoods and claims of victimization, which were quite well established in West Germany after the war. So unfortunately, Professor Cater cannot be with us today, as we heard earlier. He is 87 years old. He has had 2 surgeries. He's unable to come. So my job, I'm told, is to hold up the certificate and pretend I'm receiving it. This is it here. And then, and then to say, cue the video, which means he'll speak to you from an award ceremony of 7 years ago, I think, in which he was also honored.
Thank you to the foundation and the awards committee. I'm honored to be here today. My book is about how the Nazis tried to set up their own culture in order to penetrate Germans' minds. Much of this, of course, would have to do with anti-Semitism. But in order to set up their own culture, they had to destroy the old culture, much of which went back to the Weimar Republic and before that. Now, what to do with the Jews who were still in Germany? Well, they were put into a Kulturbund, a Jüdischer Kulturbund, a Jewish culture league, and here they could try and see what the might do with their own songs and so on and so forth. Well, the idea was to ghettoize them and then have them ready for shipment to the camps during the war. The Cultural League was destroyed in 1941, and all the Jews were dispersed. Now, a few Jews managed to remain outside the Cultural League and more or less ply their own ways, their own culture, including one of the forbidden fruits in Nazi Germany, and that was jazz, because it was invented by the Negroes and honed by the Jews, all right? One of the characters who still remained playing jazz was Heinz Schumann, whose very short story I shall relate, Heinz Coco Schumann, whom I met in Berlin in the late 1980s when he was back there from Auschwitz. He died about 3 years ago or 2 years ago at the age of 97. Schumann's father, Alfred, was an Aryan, a carpenter with a World War I record who converted to Judaism for the sake of his Jewish wife, Hedwig. Her father, Louis Rotholz, was the proprietor of a beauty salon in Berlin's Scheinenviertel, the barnyard quarter, where the poverty-stricken Jews lived, many Orthodox and originally hailing from the European East. Coco, born in 1924, grew up in a Mosaic faith in the Scheinenviertel. He characterizes it in his memoirs, which have now come out. The barnyard quarter had a prickly atmosphere for roaming around. It was a poor but lively place where everyone had to see how he would get through the day. Immediately after Kristallnacht, or Crystal Night, the terrible pogrom of November 9, 10, and 1938, Coco tried his skill at his uncle's drum set, which he had left behind after fleeing from his hair salon on Alte Schönhauser Straße. Inspired by the legendary Weintraub Syncopators, the Weimar Republic most hailed jazz group, and all of them were Jewish, by 1940, Coco was servicing several of the clubs open for Wehrmacht soldiers around the Kurfürstendamm, Berlin's big drag, in various combos, casually switching to guitar. Jazz was neither officially forbidden nor expressly permitted. It was silently tolerated due to the popular demand and for the sake of the armed forces' morale. Paradox here. By September 1941, Coco was compelled to wear the Yellow Star of David because he had celebrated Bar Mitzvah and because both his parents were counted as Jews, but he surreptitiously put it in his pocket. My blue eyes and Berlin wise guy talk did not fit the stereotype of the typical Jew, so he reminisces. After Goebbels' proclamation of total war in February 1943, the SS conducted a raid on Rosita Bar, Coco's gig, looking for deserters and miners. An SS man stood at the bandstand, clapping his hands in enthusiasm. This brought out the devil in Coco. I stood up and said, actually, you have to arrest me. The SS man looked bewildered. Why? Well, I'm a Jew. I'm playing swing and I'm a miner. He laughed out loud and could not stop laughing at the stupendous joke. The entire bar roared with them. However, in March of 1943, Coco Schumann was accused of failing to wear the Star of David, performing forbidden music, and seducing Aryan women. He was sent to Theresienstadt, about which we have just heard, and from there to Auschwitz. There he survived because at the selection ramp, the SS camp physician Joseph Mengele had chosen him for a work detail as a plumber. Yet he ended up playing a guitar left behind by condemned gypsies in one of the bands put together for the pleasure of the SS. On April 30th, 1945, the day of Hitler's suicide, Coco Schumann and a few other musicians who had survived, after a harrowing death march, found themselves in Bavarian Wolfratshausen just before their final liberation by the Americans. Music had saved his life. Thank you.